Arrival is a new hard sci-fi movie directed by Denis Villeneuve and written by Eric Heiserer. It is starring Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner, and Forest Whitaker. And honestly, this is one of the best films I've seen in a while. And it was the most powerful and most breathtaking film that I think I've ever seen. Like it comes pretty much as close as a movie can come to perfection. And I really think everyone should see it. But, honestly, it might hit you differently because it's not an action film. It's almost a human drama, a story of these people, but how they handle an alien series of aliens coming down on the Earth and trying to interact with them and speak with them and learn the language and teach them our language. Like, it's definitely a hard sci-fi film, a thinking man's sci-fi film, not an action sci-fi or anything like that.
There are days that define your story beyond your life. Like the day they arrived.
Denis Villeneuve is one of my favorite new directors, and he's a French-Canadian, and his previous films are all excellent, although especially Prisoners and Sicario are my two favorites of his. And in this movie, again, he has created such a beautiful film. Like, throughout the film, like, every shot is like a painting. Like, it's so precise and so, like, perfect. Like, especially when they first see the ship. Like, the scenery that they got. Like, I don't know how, if that was, they shot a real image that day with the clouds rolling in and then just superimposed the ship. Or if more of it was CGI. But, like, throughout the film, there are very few moments of, like, CGI. And that is noticeable. Like, even like the ships, which are obviously have to be CGI, they look like they're part of the scenery. I mean, they look like they're real. And like the only most part is her hair in one scene. So I'll avoid talking about any spoilers, just because if you talk about too much of a story, it really will lessen the impact of it when you actually watch the film. But I will set up the basic idea of the story. So Amy Adams is a linguist and a college professor, and she is going to work one day, and she sees like all these people freaking out at the college, and she goes in and she turns on the TV in the audience hall, and they show like that 12 alien vessels have arrived in random places around the world. In America is located in Kansas. And, she sees that, and a little bit later, the Forest Whitaker, as one of the government agents, comes and talks to her and tries to get her to translate a voice recording of the aliens. It just sounds like, almost like whale noises. And she says she can't translate it just hearing a voice file, a audio file. She'd have to be there and speak to them. And, that's the story, basically. They take her and this other scientist, Jeremy Renner, who is a experimental physicist, and they go and they meet with the aliens and they try to decipher their language, and just for the main purpose of why are they here, where they're from, and what their plans are for us, essentially. The design of the aliens is one of the most interesting I've seen in films. And it really is a nice play on the fact that if we do someday meet an alien species, they are not going to look like us. I mean, almost guaranteed. They're going to have evolved on a completely different planet, and they may not even be carbon-based. Like, you never know what they will have evolved on, what kind of planet and what kind of situation they'll have evolved into a species that would be able to travel the galaxy. So in this one, I think you've seen the trailer, you've seen the hand of the one. So you kind of get an idea of it, but it kind of looks like an octopus or a squid, and like combined with, a human hand, or maybe like the face grabber from the Alien series. And it all combines, it looks a tiny bit like, or maybe more than a tiny bit like the Reapers from Mass Effect. Like, it actually bears a relatively strong resemblance to it, although it's not as large. And, they seem to be organic life forms. And, they speak, like, whoever created this, I think it may have been based on a book and then they screenplay, and whoever they did the art for it, like, and just the side of it is, like, so gorgeous. Like, they speak, like, with, they release almost like an ink, and then they are able to, with their mind or with something, it creates this, like, semicircle with different variations around the edges, and that is, like, it's like a whole sentence or whole, like, multiple sentence in one little thing, and it creates, like, a very different from how we would think or how we would write. It'd be like writing an entire page in a book with both hands and, like, starting at different angles and coming together in the middle. Like, it's like we would not be able to write like that. Like, it's impossible for us, but that's how they think. The only thing I didn't love about the film is that at a certain point, the humans are getting restless about everything that's going on, and they're watching, like, online, the right-wing conspiracy theorists and other, like, crazies like that, and they're trying to say that we should attack them first before they attack us, and there's a lot of stuff like that, and then there's riots, and there's a lot of, like, shenanigans going on around the world. And, it's a little bit annoying because I just want to get more into, like, the talking to the aliens and trying to, the science of solving their language. But at the same time, that is what would happen. I mean, just look at this past election. I mean, people would be going crazy if there were actually aliens landed on the planet and the governments around the world were talking to them without any transparency. People would be freaking out, and that is humanity. And that's the whole idea of this film, is about humanity and how, like, overcoming so much and like becoming better. And, like, the film is just really, I mean, it's gorgeous. And multiple times I was just so emotional through it. Like, it's so beautiful and so perfect, some of the stuff that happens, that, like, I've never experienced something like that in a movie. Like, honestly, I mean, I have a lot of movies that I've loved. I mean, I have over 1,000 Blu-rays, and I've watched many more movies than that. And there's some movies that I've absolutely loved, but I've never felt like I did when I was watching The Arrival. Like, there's something special about it that I don't know if I'll ever be able to replicate. Because, I mean, the only time I felt something similar was when I was reading books. And mainly only from my two favorite authors, Robin Hobb and Patrick Rothfuss. And, especially with Robin Hobb, with her, the endings of each of her trilogies, they always kind of hit me like that, where they're so perfect that I just would start crying uncontrollably. I almost felt like the beginning of a panic attack. Like, it was so perfect and so beautiful and so, like, amazing that it just almost, like, I couldn't handle it. Like, that's the only time I ever felt like that while experiencing an art. And, this movie felt like that for me. But that's the thing, I went to see it with two other people, and the one person didn't really understand some of the stuff and needed something explained to it about it, what happened. And the other one, like, understood everything that happened, but it didn't hit him the same way. It just that they both still really liked the film, but they didn't have the same emotional experience that I had. The acting was also really well done. And, Denis Villeneuve, I really think he can get the best out of everyone that he works with, and including his actors. And while I wish that there would have been a little bit more interaction with Jeremy Renner's character, like, it's mostly starring Amy Adams. Like, she is the main focus of the entire movie. And I would have liked a little bit more for the other guys to do, but at the same time, what's there, it just was so good that, I mean, I really can't wait to see it again. And hopefully it holds up well to multiple viewings, but I'm not sure now. So I'd have to give this movie a 10 out of 10, and I really hope that everyone goes out to see it. highly recommend it, and I really hope a lot of people see it and have even a slightly similar experience that I had. Now, I am going to go into spoilers now, and if you haven't seen the movie, you really need to stop now, because to talk about why this movie moved me, I really have to spoil the movie. Like, it's tough to talk about without, if you mention some of the things about it, it would potentially spoil it. So if you haven't seen the film, go see it, and then you can see my thoughts on everything that happened afterwards. So in the cold opening of the film, you see Amy Adams like doing a voiceover, and you see this girl, her daughter is being born, and then she's getting older, and they're playing, and life is happening, and the good moments and bad moments. But then at the end, her daughter is on her deathbed. Before she reached adulthood, she has some sort of cancer, some sort of disease, and you see her grieving. And I mean, the scene is just so touching. And that's your introduction to the character, and it kind of molds the way that you emote about Amy Adams' character, because you think she's a bit of a broken woman. She's had a horrible life where she had to bury her daughter before she could even become an adult, and it kind of like you think that the whole time, but she never mentions it. She never talks about it at all. And then when the first time she's like talking to the aliens, she's getting what you think are flashbacks to her while she was raising her daughter, and you keep getting them over and over. And then like during what she's dreaming, and she's like what you think is reliving her life. And at first I thought that okay, maybe they're trying to connect with her like through her history, like or something's happening there. But then you start to, there's like some things that I didn't even notice at the time. I didn't think were that odd. But like when I look back later, after the revelation, you see that when her daughter is showing her a project she did where they had her make a TV show and draw a picture of it. And that was her two divorced parents, that they made a TV show together where they talked to animals. And there was a bird cage on it with a bird in it. And I think that TV show is kind of like what they're doing when they're talking to aliens. And that bird in the bird cage looked just like the bird in the bird cage that's in the alien ship while they're talking to it, to see if it dies and they gotta get out of there. And then later again, you'll see that she has like some toys or something she made like out of clay or Play-Doh or something like that. And the one toy looks like the alien. And like I kind of noticed it like when I was watching it, but I didn't really pay that much attention to it. But then you realize at a certain point, like when they get more and more into the movie and they're learning about the language, Jeremy Renner asks Amy Adams, are you dreaming in their language? And the idea that when you learn a language and you really get enveloped in it, that it rewires your brain and the way you think and the way you dream, where you're thinking in that language and dreaming in that language. And that's starting to happen to her. And it's like, the way they said that, it was like, oh, that's interesting. And then you see more like what seemed like flashbacks. They kind of affect what's happening in the present. Like you'll see she thinking about how to stop this potential cataclysm with the other powers in the world, like China and Russia, bombing the ships and maybe starting a world war, or like who knows what would happen. And he's trying to figure out what to do. And she's having the thing about where the daughter asked her what this term was, where two parties come together and neither of them really gain or lose anything, but they cooperate. And then she gives a couple words of what it might be, and she's like, no, something more scientific. And it's like, well, if you want science, why don't you call your dad? He's a scientist. And like later you see him talking about what, and he goes, I think it's called like a zero-sum loss or something like that, or a zero-sum gain or something like that. And like after he says that, she pictures her saying that in the past. and to the daughter. And it's just so weird. It's like, wait, that's not right. I mean, he's a scientist that says that. Is Jeremy Renner the daughter's dad? And then you get more stuff and more stuff. And then when she goes into the ship for the last time by herself, and she finally screams, "Who is this girl you keep showing me? Who is she? What is this gift? What is this weapon that you are trying to give us? I don't understand." And she realizes, that the girl that she keeps seeing is her daughter. And as an audience, it all comes rushing back. It almost gives me chills now, where she has never been married. She has never had a daughter. All these flashbacks she's been seeing, they're not flashbacks. They're not in the past. They're in the future. They are visions of the future of her daughter in the future when she gets married to Jeremy Renner and has a child. The whole idea is that the aliens do not perceive time the way that we do. Like, time is a constant, and it is always moving forward. But you can perceive it differently. Like, the aliens, can look into the future, and they can do things to change it, or they can get to a future they want to get to. And they've seen that 3,000 years into the future, they need humanity's help. And now, why they're at this period of time, so much in the past, maybe only Amy Adams can translate their language and teach everyone else how to use it. Or maybe if they come at another time, humanity will already be gone. They've already killed each other off. Or maybe without Amy Adams, all the world would start to fight and it would create a war and humanity would be gone again. They know that they have to be right at that point of time, and they have to be talking to Amy Adams and getting her to learn the language and unlock it for everyone else. And when she realizes that, she begins to grow, and she looks at the language, she can understand it even without using things to help her. But she still hasn't completely unlocked it. So she's able to look into the future, where she's written a book about unlocking the heptapod language, and she's able to learn from her own book, fully learn how to use it. And she's figured out that she looks into the future, where one timeline where the Chinese general told her his private phone line number, and told him what his wife, what her last dying words to him were, something that no one else knew. That's how they can save the world. And it was so breathtaking. But even more was after that, and almost like the epilogue of the movie, the ships are leaving, and the way they leave is so they don't fly off. They just the mist that was inside them kind of envelops the shell, and they just kind of disappear. That makes me think that we don't even know if these are aliens from another world in our galaxy. These could be interdimensional beings, or they could be a race from another universe. You don't really know. And that's I love that even at the end, there's still questions that are impossible to answer. So the moment that really touched me was when Amy Adams asked Jeremy Renner, if you could see into the future, is there anything in your past that you would have changed? And he thinks about it and says, I would have said what I meant more often. And it's the idea that Amy Adams, her character she knows that if she dates and falls in love with and marries Jeremy Renner, their child will die. Something about their genetics, when they're combined, their child will be born with an unstoppable genetic disease, where she will die before she reaches adulthood. There is no changing that. If they get married, they'll have a kid and they will die. Now, if she could probably just not marry him, and and they wouldn't have this daughter, and it would never happen, and she would probably save herself an immense amount of heartbreak, And I mean, it's almost like incredible amount that, how can you deal with that, losing your child after like that? But, if she did do that, if she did never even form a relationship with him, then she will have never been born at all. And, this child was perfect. She was smart. She was she was creative, and she was funny. She was like everything that you would want in a child. And, they had like almost 2 decades probably of amazing times. But, even though it ended horribly, like, would you change that? Even if you know what the end is, you still would want those years together. And, that's why, in the flashbacks or flash forwards, she was a single parent. And, it's because at one time she eventually tells Jeremy Renner that our daughter is going to die and nothing we can do about it. And he can't handle that truth. And he leaves, but he can't be around her every day and act like nothing bad's going to happen. But, she obviously, if she'll decide to do that, she'll decide to, stay with her daughter and have those amazing years, even though they're going to end horribly. And, something about that just reverberated inside me. And it's just, there are things in my life that I would have changed. But, before my father died from pancreatic cancer, like, I had a lot of years with him that I probably wouldn't have had if things had been different. Like, I probably wouldn't have been able to become a friend with him instead of just, a son. And, you have to figure, is the journey worth, like, all, the end, the suffering at the end? But if that's true, like, why would you buy a dog? A dog provides so many hours of love and friendship, but they're going to die much sooner before you do. But that's the whole idea of life, is just to live and just to experience beauty and to just, have an amazing time, like have, and enjoy being in the moment. And like, I don't know how, like, it'd be so tough for Adam to be in the moment once you can see into the future. But, you have to do that. And it's really, that is such a human story that it just touched me. And it's just, like, it's so beautiful that they created this. And, it's tough when speaking about, like, I'm trying to not become, flabbergasted while I'm speaking, and try not to cry while I'm talking, or just when I think about that moment, it still is kind of in me, even though I waited to film this for a couple of days. And, it's just, something about it is just so perfect that, I don't think I'll ever forget. And I really want to see the movie again, like, immediately, but I want to wait and just let it simmer a bit inside me before I see it again. And, I would highly recommend it. I really hope people go see it and they find the film, they love it too. So, thanks for watching.